From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. Top stories tonight. Nigeria's annual inflation rate rises to 24.23% in March from 23.18% in previous month. House of Representatives inaugurates ad hoc committee to oversee administration of Rivers State emergency dispensation. 13 million people displaced amid world's worst humanitarian crisis as Sudan enters third year of civil war.
In business, Nigeria records significant drop in petrol imports as local production surges.
And in sports, Nigeria's Flying Eagles intensify preparations for the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations as they target qualification for the FIFA World Cup in Chile. Details in a moment.
Tonight begins now. Thank you for joining us. Nigeria's inflation rate rose to 34.23% in March 2025, up from 23.18% in February, signaling growing pressure on household incomes and living costs. The 1.05 percentage point increase indicates rising cost of goods and services, which could impact economic stability. The rise in inflation rate is attributed to increasing cost of food, transportation, and accommodation services. Analysts say this trend may have far-reaching implications for the economy, emphasizing the need for careful economic management. CEO Finance with Mokhtar Mohammed joins me to discuss the new inflation figure and what it tells of the current state of the economy. We also have Marcel Okeke joining us on the news. Thank you, gentlemen, for giving us your time. I'll start with you, Mokhtar. Nigeria's inflation dropped in January from 24.48% to 23.18% in February, just when we thought Nigeria's economy was doing fine. Now we have this rise from February figure to in March. What would you attribute to this fluctuating rise in rates?
Felicita, first of all, you have to ask yourself what was responsible for that drop of that numbers. It was not as a result of any economical thing that like what we've seen in terms of cost of food price going down or cost of transportation going down, or cost of housing going down. It was as a result of what you call rebasing, and I keep saying, I think I said it in your program, when rebasing is any rebasing that will not bring down inflation in the long run, that will not bring down cost of food and services, will not address exchange rate volatility, will not attract foreign direct investors or foreign portfolio investors. It's just a matter of time it will crumble. So what we've seen now is a gradual movement to where we ought to be. Like I said, no economy in the world has ever solved their inflationary problem by rebasing. So what happened was, what you saw at that drop was not as a result of any sharp economic policy, was a result of rebasing. So nobody should be surprised, because nothing has really changed if you look at the Nigerian economy. After the rebasing, we still have, we had the high price of cost, or high price of petroleum product, high price of food and stocks, food items are still very, very high in the market. And also house rent is going up by the day, especially in urban city like Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja. So definitely nothing has really changed. The root cause of our inflationary pressure have not yet been addressed.
Are we gambling then? Because if nothing has changed, the cost of household living, basically just to eat, is rising on a daily basis. What is going on? Are our financial planners not doing what they should?
Well, it's not about a financial planner. It's about what you have. What is your income? As income increases, as income improved, and I don't think any income has improved. Rather, because of that volatility, you continue to see income still going diminishing by the day. Let me give you an example that I keep saying. The cost of rising inflation is exchange rate volatility. because about 70 to 80% of what we consume, we import into this country. As long as we don't have that stable exchange rate, we'll continue to see that. We thought the exchange rate at the moment should be driving around 1,500, 1,600, 1,500, 1,400. But it's still hovering between 1,650, 1,600, 1,000, almost 1,650 in the parallel market. So definitely we have not seen those stability in the exchange rate. And that's why when people said, oh, the exchange rate is stable, I said, no, we're in a corridor of stability because we have seen it hover between 150 to 160, 160 to 165. So as that continues, household incomes will not be enough because, again, there have not been any increment in the minimum wage. Neither are private sectors really employing anybody or increasing anybody's salary. So that's why I say the root cause. But the root cause of our inflationary pressure is exchange rate volatility. And we have not addressed that. And if you don't address that, that means you cannot be able to address the income of every Nigerian. So there's nothing or little a financial planner can do, because the financial planner can only do more if you are earning more, and then is able to tell you to do one or two things like that: save, invest, earn more. Then that means that you have more jobs to do. Maybe you are working more than one or two jobs. But as it stands now, a lot of people are not able to even eat. And so definitely what happens is food first before any other issues will come up.
Talking about eating, although we know that food inflation eased slightly to 21.79% in March, it remains a significant concern. As someone who is in this area, what would be your suggested strategies to address food price volatility? I mean, to help with all these shakes that Nigerians are currently experiencing.
Well, when we talk about food price, we need food security, and the major cause of our food price going high is insecurity, because the farmers are still not able to go to the farm. Recently, we have seen an uptick in terrorism and banditry, and even in the governors in those states like Borno, Katsina, are beginning to say, look, if we scarce not taking, we are losing the war on dealing with terrorism and also banditry. So as long as these farmers are not able to go to farm, then they are going to be a very serious issue in terms of food security. So that's why we think the only way we can address that is to make sure that there's security, so that farmers will be able to go to farm. And then you have to also look at the cost of production. Also, if you have to produce those, if you have to plant those crops, then to put it into finished product, then you have to use machineries, and some of, like I said, these machineries are imported into this country. I think the game changers still remain that policy that have not seen the light of day. If that policy sees the light of day, I think that would be a game changer. The removal of tariff on any household item or food item or agricultural item, whether in terms of the item or machineries, if that will see the light of the day, then that would definitely drive down the price of agricultural product. But as it stands, I think we are waiting for that tax bill to be passed so that that policy can come on stream.
All right, let's bring in Marcel Okeke. Marcel, let's get your thoughts quickly on these rising rates.
Well, for those of us who are close watchers of the economy, there's no surprise. I'm not surprised at all. You know, because like my colleague has just said, the only thing they did was rebasing, and that was a case of changing the method of, how to calculate, the inflation. You understand? So it was just an artificial thing. So nothing had changed. And that was why by end of December 2024, you had the level of inflation at over 34%. And when they tinkered with the methodology, they said it came down to whether to 4 point something and now 3 point something, but now it has gone up. I will keep going up, going forward. Nothing really has changed. It was an artificial tinkering with the methodology. So I'm not surprised that we've gone back to 24 point something, and it's likely to, keep climbing up, because the fundamentals are really have not really changed. That's my initial reaction.
Yeah, Mokta has made some suggestions as to how we can address the rising cost of food, but how can the Central Bank of Nigeria adjust monetary policy to combat rising inflation, and what will be the potential effect it will have on the economy?
It's no longer a monetary policy thing, because the Central Bank of Nigeria has gotten to its wit's end, so to speak. It's no longer a monetary policy thing, because if you decompose, the CPI, Consumer Price Index, you find out that we're talking about food, likely food driven. And like my colleague said, you find out that there's serious insecurity, especially in the locations we call food baskets of the country. That's why you have all this something that looks like war. And farmers, rather than living in their villages and farming, you find them in internally displaced persons' camps all over the place. So how do they farm? So the price of food is going up. And if you say you are importing, that will not solve the problem. It's a very temporary measure. And so far it's been abused, and they have not had any significant impact. Assuming that the government policy around sometime last year, that some food items have to be brought in, removing tariffs and all kinds of levies and taxes on them. So that did not have any appreciable impact, So unless the government is able to handle insecurity seriously and mechanize agriculture seriously, you understand, and give a lot of incentives, for so many people to go into agriculture, we will continue to have the situation we have now.
All right. Talking about vulnerable groups, what would be some maybe stopgap support measures government can implement to protect them from the effects of this inflation surge?
There is really no short-term solution to the inflation, inflation we are having. There's no short-term solution to it. So it is something that government has to look at holistically, taking care of the insecurity we are talking about. Because one thing to announce that you are declaring a war or whatever against food insecurity is another thing for you to do something realistic in that regard, for any impact to be made or for any improvement we see. But if you have a holistic approach, you will be tackling insecurity. Why? You will also be attending to this exchange rate volatility that my colleague mentioned. And that now comes to the issue of what really causes so much demand for foreign exchange. You find out that there is the issue of importation of refined products, PMS in particular, or specifically, So you find out that part of what induced the increase in inflation, as we are told now, was the stopping.
All right, Marcel, let me, in the interest of time, let me bring back Mokta quickly. Is it safe to say that global economic trends and events such as the U.S. tariffs slammed on Nigeria influenced its inflation rate? Can you advise on steps to mitigate external pressures, such as the one being imposed by President Trump?
The only challenge we have in terms of the tariff that is being imposed by President Trump is our oil price. That would definitely, crude price that has gone down. President Trump has not improved tariff on our oil and gas sector in America, and that is our largest export to America. Our agricultural product that we export to America in terms of volume or value is very, very low. So the impact, it will definitely come. We've not seen the impact yet, but it will come in the sense that low oil price coupled with our low oil output that we've not been able to even meet the budget benchmark of 2.06 million barrels per day, and also the issue that has to do with the tariff from the American president. But I think what that will turn out to be, where we'll begin to see the effect on Nigerian economy in terms of, it's got to do with our foreign reserve, because immediately we are not able to earn so much from crude oil sale due to low price and low output. Then we'll begin to see that turn in our foreign reserve. And once that happens, you and I know what will definitely happen next. The exchange rate will get the gap between the parallel and the official, even the official will begin to widen. So we might see that exchange rate begin to widen to 1718 if we are not able to address that. Though we see the CBN have tried to intervene immediately to couple that with injection of about about $170 million into the market, especially the retail market. But I think that intervention has to come almost frequently. And with this low oil price and low oil output, I don't see that happening. And so we might begin to face those challenges. And the key driver of Nigerian inflation at the moment still remains FX. So once that challenge comes, definitely inflation will definitely go up.
Not a great scenario to be looking forward to, though. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for speaking with us. Mokhtar, it's always a pleasure. And Marcel, always a pleasure as well. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me on this program.
Coming up, suspected herdsmen attack Gyalua village in Benue State. We have details of this story and more when we return. You're watching tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria's annual inflation rate rises to 24.23% in March from 23.18% in previous month. House of Representatives inaugurates ad hoc committee to oversee administration of Rivers State emergency dispensation. Also in the news, 13 million people displaced amid world's worst humanitarian crisis as Sudan enters third year of civil war. Now, in a recent escalation of violence in Benue State, suspected herdsmen attacked Gyalua village in Gwe West local government area, resulting in the displacement of numerous residents. The survivors of the attack fled to Naka, the local government headquarters, seeking refuge. News Central's Umaru Kirawa reports that the attack has intensified ongoing concerns over security in the region and issues of overstretched facilities and struggle amidst water crisis. The Federal High Court in Port Harcourt has struck out a suit filed to challenge the defection of 27 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to the All Progressive Congress, APC. The case, brought by the Labour Party, sought a declaration that the lawmakers' seats be tendered vacant following the alleged defection. However, in a ruling delivered on Tuesday, Justice Emmanuel Obile dismissed the case, basing his decision on a recent Supreme Court judgment which, according to him, had already dealt with the legal questions surrounding the issue of defection. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has commissioned an ad hoc committee to assume the legislative responsibilities of the suspended Rivers State House of Assembly. This 21-member committee, comprising representatives from the 6 geopolitical zones, was inaugurated at the National Assembly complex in Abuja. During the inauguration, the Speaker, Abbas, emphasized the committee's non-partisan mandate, focusing on promoting good governance, peace and prosperity in the oil-rich state. The committee's responsibilities, according to the Speaker, will be guided by principles as they work to serve the best interest of the Rivers people. A wave of public outcry is sweeping through the Ajegunle area of Lagos State as residents accuse the police of carrying out illegal arrests under the guise of maintaining law and order. While the police say they are clamping down on crime in a neighborhood known for its high level of criminal activity, innocent citizens claim they are being wrongly targeted. News Central's Israel Eferobo visited the area and now completes the story.
The other day with the watch ball for inside the SCV. Now so then park, enter, carry gun, everybody run, lift the SCV.
According to them, they say that they are after the bad acts, but reaching the community, they took our own children, our own responsible children.
There is growing unrest in Ajegunle, a densely populated area in Lagos State, as residents raise serious concerns over what they describe as incessant and illegal arrest by members of the Nigerian police. Ajegunle is no stranger to some kind of unrest. For years, the area has battled issues ranging from cultism to armed robbery, making it a hotspot for police patrols. But in recent weeks, locals say that the operations meant to sanitize the area are instead terrorizing innocent citizens.
So as I was coming out from my street, we just saw the police. They are harassing people, raiding everybody. So due to my first experience, I now run away.
We are like 14 now, or 15. Even that day, I was supposed to escape because the policeman just hold my jeans.
We did nothing. We are only watching football. You guys came into our view center and carried us. So why are you taking us to Start Force office?
The residents allege that these arrests often occur without warrant or proper investigation.
Any that I see the police, it's better I should run than wait.
While the police maintain that their presence in Ajegunle is to clamp down on crime, locals argue that the sweeping arrests are not only unlawful, but also counterproductive.
It has been a tough situation for a while. Sometimes you may be sitting down outside, you see the police, we started chasing everybody.
Others echo the same sentiment, describing a pattern of profiling and intimidation by officers. Efforts to get across to the Lagos State Police Public Relations Officer David Hunay at the time of this report were unsuccessful.
The way forward is we should call out for the government to come to our aid to help us in this community. Because at the end of the day, when they get our children arrested, if we went there for bail, they started from 100,000.
Maybe they just enter road. They enter road, they see young boy, they go in. Some people say they buy bread, akara. Night, some people they come from work. Once they don't see the young boy, they carry.
As residents continue to call for justice and accountability, community leaders are urging for a more humane approach to policing, one that targets criminals without criminalizing the innocent. For now, the streets of Ajegunle remain tense, not just from the threats of crime, but from the very people meant to uphold the law. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Ifirobo.
Thank you, Israel, for that report. We told you earlier that the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has commissioned an ad hoc committee to assume the legislative responsibilities of the suspended Rivers State House of Assembly. We now have our guest to speak on this, a constitutional lawyer, Abbas Hikimi. He will be sharing his thought on this latest development with the Rivers situation. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you for having me in News Central.
The presidency, this current administration, has been repeatedly accused of attempting to rewrite rules of statecraft. From your position as a lawyer, is it in our laws a committee of the House of Representatives to oversee a sole administrator?
You see, like they always say, the problem with one illegality is that it breeds more illegality. And in this case, the unconstitutional action of the president of sacking and, or rather suspending a constitutional and duly elected governor of Rivers State is that it breeds more problem. And in this case, if you remember, it is not only the governor that was suspended, even the House of Assembly, in an unprecedented manner, were also suspended. And so the state was left only with the judiciary as only an arm of government, constitutionally there to do its work. But the House of Assembly is not there, and the governor is not also there. So from the beginning, the act of imposing, or rather installing a sole administrator is unconstitutional, is unknown to law. So also the act of suspending, a democratically elected House of Assembly, suspending them, at a go is also unconstitutional. And that's why the presidency, or rather the federal government, because the federal government does not just involve the presidency, it also includes the National Assembly and the judiciary also. And that's why they are battling right now, to swallow what they have done. And that's why they are constituting this committee to oversee the sole administrator and even to direct him to report to them. It is not constitutional. There is no law anywhere in our laws that empowers the National Assembly to direct a sole administrator to do that. There is no law. In fact, there is no provision for appointment of sole administrator, and that is why it's like building something on nothing.
Wow. Some analysts are also saying that the appointment of this committee seems to be a move to assuage the backlash over the inevitability of the military-style approach to governance of a sole administrator. First off, do you agree? Add to that the viability that members of the committee as being set up by the House will be able to provide credible oversight along with their federal assignments.
There is a provision of the Constitution of Nigeria around Section 11(4), which mandates, or rather which empowers the National Assembly to, legislate for states. But that provision is clear. It says where a House of Assembly cannot function or is unable to function, then the National Assembly can step in, and function on their behalf. But in this case, we are dealing with a House of Assembly of a state that has been suspended unconstitutionally. Every legal mind in Nigeria has agreed that, the declaration of emergency in the River State, and especially what follows it, which is the removal of the duly elected governor and the suspension, of the House of Assembly was unconstitutional. And that's why they're battling with this. So in this case, you're not dealing with the House of Assembly that's unable to function. You understand what I mean? So assuming they are unable to function, what the law says is that they should be there to legislate on their behalf. But asking a sole administrator to report to a National Assembly committee, that cannot be pointed at anywhere in the body of Nigerian laws. Why? Because oversight does not involve, yes, the House of the National Assembly has oversight function, but oversight function on federal government MDAs. That's what the law says. Rivers State government is not an MD of the federal government. So they can only make law, but they cannot act a sole administrator. That's assuming he's constitutional, assuming without conceding. They cannot ask him to report to them. They don't have that power anywhere in our laws.
Okay, I want to ask a curious question. It's been, it's almost a month that this state of emergency was declared, and across board, the calls have been to the president and the federal government, in this case, to reconsider the decision on a state of emergency. My question is, are there no options to explore to sort of compel the federal government, perhaps, using the weight of the law to reconsider the decision and follow democratic principles, or provide a timeline, not this extended 6 months, that they will quickly address the issues that led to the state of emergency? I mean, there are no explosions anymore since that declaration was made.
You see, Section 305 is the section of the Constitution that deals with proclamation of state of emergency. And the section is clear. It says that the president can declare at the request of the governor. It has to be at the request of the governor. He can declare state of emergency in any part of Nigeria. But the section goes on to say that that declaration can only be done for 6 months and below. It shouldn't be more than 6 months. What that means is that the president can just wake up tomorrow and say the proclamation made in River State has been set aside, and then the governor will be, will take back the mantle, and the House of Assembly will continue to do their work. That can be done. So some kind of pressure can be mounted, political pressure can be mounted. If that cannot be done within the bounds of the law, then of course they can approach court. But Nigerian courts, as you know, they can be very sluggish. I mean, proceedings can take forever. I am not sure in any court of Nigeria, like in this case, I understand the PDP governors want to approach the Supreme Court of Nigeria, but I don't think it's a case that can be resolved as expeditiously as if the president, for example, is willing, has the political will to set aside the proclamation. So in my view, it is better if the president can heed all the opinion of the legal minds, refined legal minds in Nigeria, including the Nigerian Bar Association, that have openly declared, the declaration and the proclamation as unconstitutional, absolutely.
All right, let me just go ahead and ask you anyway. It's been about a month. The sole administrator is already taking command in the state. What would be your overview of what has happened in this 1 month? Does it justify this decision in any way? Of course, you're not for the decision, but does it sort of give any clarity to why the president took this decision?
I believe when the sole administrator was appointed, the orders or the directive given to them was that he should go there and maintain peace and order. That is what he's supposed to do. So even the extent of his activity or of his power has been circumscribed already from the word go. He is not allowed to go there and begin to build, projects. Build road, houses, hospitals, and all of that. He's just there to maintain law and order. So there's a limit to what he can do. And so I don't know. I am of the opinion ab initio from the beginning that the proclamation itself is politically motivated, and that is why I don't want to believe that anything new is happening. If Fubara was there and the democratically elected House of Assembly members were there, I believe they would have been continuing to make effort, because these are people that have mandates. They have the mandates of the people. They have responsibility, and they shoulder it. And politically speaking, they will have the urge, to try to satisfy the needs of the people that have elected them. So I don't want to believe the sole administrator there is doing anything better than what the governor and the House of Assembly will have done if they were here.
Abbas, it's always a pleasure to listen to you. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Outside Nigeria, the European Union and Britain on Tuesday pledged to increase aid for Sudan. This is ahead of a conference in London marking the second anniversary of a conflict that has displaced millions. Britain said the conference aimed to improve the coherence of the international response to the crisis, although Sudan's government criticized the gathering because no representative from either side of the conflict was invited. Nations are, however, calling for a swift end to the devastating war. Joanna is here with the business update for today. Are we looking at price drop in petrol?
Well, perhaps, but it's more the Naira for crude deal, keeping that in place that will ensure prices perhaps come down. But definitely an increase in local production and a decrease in imports of petrol is another step that could be a game changer in that regard. I'll bring you details on this, on the story, after this break. Nigeria has reduced its daily petrol imports from 44.6 million litres in August 2024 to 14.7 million litres as of April 13, 2025, according to the NMDPRA CEO, Farouk Ahmed. He attributed the 30 million litre drop to a 670% rise in local production, driven by the revival of the Port Harcourt refinery and modular refineries. Local output rose from virtually zero in August to 26.2 million litres per day in April. Ahmed emphasized the need for national collaboration to protect oil infrastructure and reaffirmed NNDPRA's commitment to balancing import with domestic capacity growth. The Securities and Exchange Commission has warned Nigerians against using unregistered digital asset platforms, declaring them illegal. This follows growing concerns over CBEX, a trading platform whose users reportedly being unable to withdraw funds. During a virtual meeting on the Investment and Securities Act 2024, SEC Director General urged caution, stressing the risk of engaging with unregulated operators. CBEX, which promises 100% monthly returns in USD and referral bonuses, has denied collapse claims, attributing withdrawal delays to internal policies. Social media users fear the platform may be a Ponzi scheme in disguise. And coming to the local bourse, investors are earning back the losses from yesterday with a moderate gain of 0.03% on the local bourse. All-share index is at 104,560.02, and we're seeing the market capitalization at 65.7 trillion naira. Coming to sectoral performances, the banks, they're still in the red today, right? They continue their bearish run, but a little lighter today, down 0.11%. Insurance is up 0.15%. Oil and gas is flat, as well as industrial goods and consumer goods also strengthening the markets today, up 0.72%. That is your business tonight. I am Joanna Mustafa. Tonight continues with Felicity.
Tunde Koiki is here with sports. Tunde, what are we looking at?
Well, the national under-20 men's football team of Nigeria are looking to qualify for the FIFA Under-20 World Cup taking place in Chile later this year. Nigeria hasn't played in that competition since 2019, and the coach and his captain are talking tough. All this and much more after the break. Hello and welcome to Sports. The Nigerian men's under-20 football team, the Flying Eagles, are currently fine-tuning their preparations in Abuja ahead of the 2025 Under-20 CAF Africa Cup of Nations, which will take place in Egypt. Under the watchful eyes of Coach Ali Zubairu, the team is involved in intensive preparations ahead of the tournament, which will see the 4 semi-finalists qualify for the 2025 Under-20 World Cup later in Chile later this year. Nigeria in Group B alongside Tunisia, Kenya and Morocco. Speaking after a training session today, Coach Ali Zubairu declared that his target was to qualify for the World Cup. And Mali booked their place in the final of the Total Energies CAF Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations with a commanding 2-0 win over 9-man Burkina Faso in Tuesday's semi-final in Casablanca. A goal in each half was enough to send the Young Eagles through to Saturday's championship match, where they will face host Morocco. The North Africans defeated Cote d'Ivoire 4-3 on penalties after regulation time ended goalless. 10 African teams will compete at this year's FIFA Under-17 World Cup in Qatar, which has been expanded to 48 teams. To boxing now, heavyweight champions Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois are in advanced talks for a potential undisputed title bout at Wembley Stadium on the 12th of July. Former undisputed champions Usyk, who holds the WBA, WBO and WC belts, defeated Dubois last year and remains unbeaten in 23 fights. Dubois, now the IBF champion, is eager to avenge that loss and unify the division. While negotiations are ongoing, no deal has been finalized yet, and if talks fall through, Dubois may be ordered to face IBF's top contender Derek Chisora instead. The proposed fight date adds to a packed sports weekend featuring the Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano trilogy, as well as the Wimbledon finals. To the Olympics now, Los Angeles has revealed its landmark venues for the 2028 Olympic Games, featuring iconic locations like Universal Studios and Venice Beach. Squash will make its Olympic debut at Universal Studios Courthouse Square, known for movies like Back to the Future. Venice Beach, a new location for the triathlon, will also host the marathon and cycling road races. Cricket returns to the Olympics after over a century, with matches to be held in Pomona. Other confirmed venues include the LA Dodgers Stadium for baseball, Trestle Beach in San Clemente for surfing, and a purpose-built venue for cricket. LA 28 Chief Reynold Hoover emphasized the game's regional inclusivity, showcasing the city's diverse landmarks. And finally, to tennis, Diego de Dura Palomero made history on Tuesday by becoming the first player born in 2008 or later to compete in an ATP Tour match. The 17-year-old Spaniard, ranked 549th in the world, reached the last 16 at the Munich Open after defeating 8th seed Denis Shapovalov. De Dura Palomero was leading 7-6 3-love when Shapovalov retired due to injury, and his victory follows his entry as a lucky loser after Gael Monfils withdrew. Meanwhile, defending champion Jan-Lennart Struff was knocked out 6-love, 6-2 by Francisco Cerundolo. Alexander Zverev also advanced and will face Daniel Altmaier in the next round. And just before we go, earlier on we told you that the Nigerian men's under-20 football team, the Flying Eagles, are currently fine-tuning their preparations in Abuja ahead of the 2025 Under-20 CAF Africa Cup of Nations, which will take place in Egypt. Under the watchful eyes of Coach Ali Zubairu, the team is involved in intense preparations ahead of the tournament, which will see 4 semi-finalists qualify for the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile later this year. Nigeria currently in Group B alongside Tunisia, Kenya and Morocco. And speaking after a training session today, Zubairu declared that his target was to qualify for the World Cup.
We are going for the World Cup ticket first. By the time we get to the semi-final, then we think of what is going to be good for the country. But for now, I think the World Cup ticket is the priority.
Saying it as it is, that's our sports news tonight. Many thanks for joining us. It's back to you, Felicity.
It's time for entertainment, and Dan is here with all the juice. We talked about Portable yesterday. What's the update?
He's back in the news. Of course, yesterday he couldn't make bail, and now today we know that he's free. So this is exciting news for a lot of his fans, and hopefully he's up to good behavior. I'll tell you all the details after this quick break. In the details, controversial street music artist Portable has regained his freedom after Fuji legend Saheed Osupa formally withdrew a cyber-stalking and defamation case against him. Now, the legal dispute, which stemmed from a viral Instagram video which Portable allegedly made defamatory remarks about Osupa, it was now resolved, of course, April the 15th at the Upper Area Court 1 in Ilorin, Kwara State. Osupa's lawyers confirmed that the decision followed multiple interventions from influential figures in the music industry. Although Portable was previously arraigned and granted bail, Osupa chose to settle the matter out of court in the interest of public peace. The court was urged to admonish Portable to refrain from further disparaging comments. The question is, will he refrain?
That's the question of the day. I think for a while he will be mellow, but it just seems to be in his person to cause some kind of controversy. Again, they say it's good for business when you're always in the news. I don't know. He cut his hair, I noticed.
I guess this is a new look, you know. He's up to good behavior, hopefully. But only time will tell. Because
indication of good things to come.
Time and time again, we've seen Portable, of course, come in the news, whether he's doing something outrageous or it's controversial. But do you think a lot of people are looking up to him? I mean, he's a star, right?
We live in a crazy world. I wouldn't be shocked to discover that he's a role model to some people, as weird as that may seem. Yeah.
Well, his music hasn't been banned, so I guess people are still listening. And the number, honestly, still shows that with controversy, people listening more to this music. Let's move away from Nigeria. Disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein is facing a new criminal trial in New York on multiple sex crime charges. Now, this is following a 2023 appeals court decision that overturned his previous conviction. Jury selection is underway in Manhattan for the retrial, which involves allegations from 3 women. 2 from the original 2020 trial and 1 new accuser. Weinstein, who has pleaded not guilty, remains in custody and has been dealing with serious health issues. Once a powerhouse in Hollywood, his downfall began in 2017 after investigative reports exposed widespread sexual misconduct, which of course led to the rise in the hashtag #MeToo movement, which honestly not just was in America, but every part of entertainment around the world. I don't know, am I human to feel a little sympathy? Because he's going through so much health-wise.
Well, you can feel sympathy and still know what is, what is right and what is morally repugnant. Sometimes when I hear stories like this, there has to be some element. I mean, denial is, he has a legacy to protect, but it sort of allows you to play with the possibility that gravity and karma does work when you do things and you think there will be no repercussion. Somehow it comes out.
Well, we'll see. You know how we always say, let justice take its full course? But this is interesting because time and time again, we see people abuse power, especially entertainment. Diddy is still in the news and we're expecting trial to kick off.
You know what hurts my heart the most is the fact that these atrocities don't come out until much later, when they've accumulated so much fame. People have modeled their lives over these figures, and then you hear these unbelievable accusations, some of which the courts say is true, some they say, no, these are just people looking to lashing on an opportunity.
I must confess, I mean, our hearts go out to victims, of course, speak out, but we certainly will keep, eyes on this situation, especially the Diddy case, because we have followed that as well. Well, that's much to bring entertainment. I am Sam Dandy.
And that's the news tonight. But before we go, a quick reminder of our top stories. Nigeria's annual inflation rate rises to 24.23% in March from 23.18% in previous month. House of Representatives inaugurates ad hoc committee to oversee administration of River State emergency dispensation. We also brought you the news that 13 million people displaced amid world's worst humanitarian crisis as Sudan enters 3rd year of civil war. As always, we would like to hear from you. Please share your thoughts via the numbers showing now on your screen, or you could follow us on social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, we're on GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Abo TV, and on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.